Good morning, my name is Ruben. I am here with the teacher Andres Hoyos from the ABC Audiovisual Center. Good morning, Andres.
Good morning, Ruben. Thank you very much for this time.
Thank you. This is an interview about language and culture. What do you think about culture?
Well, in the general sense of the word, I think that culture shows the idiosyncrasy of a community. Culture is also a set of aspects that a community gather, like, for example, their language, their habits, customs, food, and all these characteristics is what make the community as such.
Okay. What is the influence of culture in the process of foreign language process?
Well, I think that culture is an important aspect of the learning language process. Because as I mentioned before, culture is part of the language. So when you are teaching a language, you are also transmitting part of the culture through the language. Yes, for example, when you teach, let's say, vocabulary related to food, yeah, you are not only teaching this vocabulary, you are teaching also habits, for example, that North American people have or English people have when they eat. We have different habits, for example, in the restaurant, right? Different ways to behave in a restaurant, yes? Or, for example, things like, you know that English people, for example, take the tea in the afternoon. That is a habit they have. So that is something that you must teach when you teach vocabulary, right?
Okay. How do you involve culture in the strategy you use in your English classes? Give real examples, please.
Oh, well, there are many ways to do so. For example, I like to use authentic material in my intermediate and advanced courses. For example, like readings from magazines or songs. I practice songs with my students, you know. I also like to practice with them colloquial expressions that they use there, and sometimes I like to make the contrast to see the difference, how the expression changes, yes, in the two languages. Sometimes the expressions are equal and they can be literally translated, but sometimes they are totally different, right? But they keep the same sense. For example, I like to do so with my students.
Right. What do you consider are the most important elements to succeed in the second language learning?
Well, it's kind of difficult to answer this question because from my experience I can tell you there are multiple reasons that are important for learning a second language successfully. But definitely the most important factor to learn not only a language but also whatever you want to learn is practice and dedication. Yeah, you have to be very constant in what you do. You have to do it every day. For example, when you play the guitar, when you want to learn to play the guitar, you have to do it every day if you want to see progress. Yes, if you want to advance with this, you can learn. You can have classes, for example, every week, but probably you're not gonna see, like a real effect in the learning. It is necessary to be really dedicated. So when you are learning a language, you have to smell the language, you have to breathe the language, you have to speak the language, listen to it, write it, read it every day. I think that this is the key to succeed.
In your opinion, what are the most relevant issues when it comes to teaching culture in the English classroom?
The most relevant issues, I would say, well, when it comes to teaching, it is very important to understand the most relevant aspects of the culture to be taught. I mean, I wouldn't say I can teach culture. I would say I teach aspects of the culture because culture is something. Good morning. Culture is something that you learn in your daily life. It's not like in a classroom you're gonna teach culture. No, through the language, through the practice of the language, you are in a way indirectly teaching culture, right? but aspects of the culture, not the culture as such, but aspects of it.
Right. And finally, how could teacher minimize the lack of reality that an English classroom suffers in a foreign language teaching learning process?
Right. First of all, well, nobody says that an English class in a classroom with a traditional teaching method is not good or efficient. There are activities that can be implemented in the classroom to make the learning as close to reality as possible, like the use of realia, for example. Like it is the use of objects for the purpose of teaching English, so students can have a better understanding of the target language and its culture, right? For example, I know teachers, there's another activity that I like very much, which is to take the students, for example, to places, to give the classes outside the classroom. Like there are teachers I know take their students to a supermarket or shopping center, so they make the language a little bit more realistic with this practice. So I like this, and I know teachers who do so. So I think this is a very good way to minimize, the lack of reality in the classroom.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Goodbye.